welcome everybody to the full board meeting, Macomb County Board of Commissioners. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item number 3 is invocation by Commissioner Phil Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let's bow our heads. Father, thank you for every virtual seat that has been filled here today. For each mind and heart that fills this meeting, we thank you. Only you truly know what we are setting out to accomplish today. We have an idea, a vision, hints, and daily instructions. We have talents, abilities, and time to work. However, only you can see in perfect detail the end of every beginning, every project, every season, every life. Nothing is ever in vain, for even mistakes and missteps are used for good. Bless this meeting today, all those present, as well as the lives of those who will encounter afterward. Ready us to make every moment count. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Commissioner. Item number 4, adoption of the agenda. Can I get a motion to adopt today's agenda?
Romano moves to adopt.
Commissioner
Support Carabelli.
Thank you. Have a motion and support. Please vote. Commissioners and others, if you would please mute yourself after you're done speaking, that would be great. We have a lot of people on the line today.
That motion passes 11-0.
Great, thank you. Item number 5, approval of the minutes dated July 30th, 2020. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion by Kleinfeld.
Support Carabelli.
Thank you. We have a motion and support. Commissioners, please vote.
That motion passes 11-0.
Thank you. Item number 6 is public participation. I know we have a lot of people on the line, and we're going to have a lot of participation by all of our legislators. But the first public participation is for items on the agenda. You'll have 5 minutes to speak on an item pertaining to today's agenda. If there's anybody who is on the line that would like to speak, member of the public, please let me know by pushing star 6 unmutes you. So any members of the public wishing to speak? All right. Second time, any members of the public wishing to speak, push star 6, or please, any of the staff that has anyone on the chat line that might be interested, let me know. Third and final time, public participation. Anybody wishing to speak? All right, we're going to close the first public participation. There will be another one at the end of this meeting. Item number 7, I don't believe we have any correspondence from the executive's office, so we'll close item number 7. Item number 8, we have our first item, 8A, monthly update for Martha T. Berry, and we're doing this first because I think the legislators need to hear a little bit about what's going on with our Martha T. Berry. Can I get a motion to receive and file this first, and then I'll introduce Kevin?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Support Drollet.
Thank you. So, Kevin Evans, I know you're on the line. Are you with us? Kevin?
How's that? Can you hear me now, Mr. Chair?
Yes, there you go. Great. Hi, Kevin, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, commissioners and distinguished guests. My hope is that this update will be brief in nature and rich in content. Starting with some great news, we have not had a resident with a symptom of COVID-19 since May 8th, and only one staff member who had mild symptoms since that same time. We were testing all staff and residents prior to the mandates to do so, in large part due to the great support and cooperation from the county at all levels. This board, the executive office, the emergency operations center, and the health department helped us overcome many challenges. I'm so grateful to serve in a community that's focused on fixing these challenges and not fixing blame. More good news too. During the first critical 3 months, Martha T. Berry had over 80 staff with perfect attendance. The same staff that lost brothers and uncles and parents overcame profound fears because they knew the residents needed them. Our managers worked weekends and covered shifts when we did have people out sick, and our staff picked up extra shifts, so much so that we did not need agency a single day. We overcame shortages, even donning garbage bags to protect those in our care without complaint. Our staff owned it. I'm so proud of them. Since COVID has surfaced, we have received over 320 directives, orders, clarifications, rules changes, and updates from the CDC, CMS, HHS, MDHHS, the President, the Governor, the Attorney General, and LARA on just this one issue. Now, we've received others on other issues, but 320 on just this one. Our historical document has grown to over 1,100 pages of reviews, discussions, meeting minutes, decisions, process communications changes, and more. We've been visited twice by surveyors to review our infection control protocols and passed both times with compliments from the surveyors. The perception that nursing homes are wholly bad and uncaring has come from a narrative kind of founded in misinterpreting some data and some predisposed media bias. Many thanks, though, to Bridge, Michigan, Macomb Daily, Fox 2, and Detroit Free Press for taking time to learn more about what's happening and providing some balanced input. To be sure, COVID-19 was a perfect killing machine for our vulnerable seniors, and we do need to stay vigilant. And most facilities like ours understand the science, and that science changes as more information comes in. Now, however, we know for certain things. First, our data points can be skewed, mostly by ignorance. I don't mean this as intentional manipulation, but us math nerds and research hounds, I do count myself as a nerd and a research hound, need data points to try and understand something of this magnitude. So for example, with the data points we have here, if you own a facility and I'm your only resident, I can be counted 5 or 6 times. How do I mean that? Well, if you believe I might have it, that's one data point, that's suspected. If you test me, that's 2 separate data points. If I'm tested positive, that's 3. If I pass away at your facility, I'm still your only resident, and that's 4 times. However, if you sent me to the hospital, they have to count me as a positive COVID-19, and they count me as passing, as well as the nursing home still required to report those data. Now, that data is sometimes all added together, and it's made out to be worse than it actually is. For example, with all the data points, we also have to report both to the state and to the federal government, and those data points changed over 20 times with the EM resource requirements. So at one point, we had 22 who died with positive tests, and it was recorded as having over 200 deaths just because they changed the data fields. Also, having died with a positive test is not the same as having died with it. Our 22 residents during the worst of it that had positive tests that passed away during that time, we only had 8 that died of those symptoms. Now, those data I share with you with earnest intention. Our nation has seemed to forget that there is more illness in senior care than COVID-19. There are specific rules that are designed to keep residents social. And if what we are doing now, with all the isolation that we're doing, we did in January, I would have been charged with abuse and involuntary confinement, with immediate jeopardy citations from the federal government. Now we're required to limit the movement, the face-to-face engagement, the very things that make life worth living. Residents cannot see their families and sons and daughters and their grandchildren. They used to visit them so often. We need help overcoming what is causing this pain. We need to overcome loneliness and helplessness and boredom. As a matter of fact, there is a study right now on the broken heart syndrome that's a result of this. We recognize, as well as all of you here, that FaceTime cannot replace a child's embrace. We're so glad again for the support from the county, for the commissioners. Thank you so much. For all the executive, EOC, the health department, everybody just really has come together to focus on caring at Martha T. Berry facility. I thank you all for listening. And if anyone, including our distinguished guests, would like to discuss further what's happening in long-term care, it would be my privilege to serve. You can get my email from the commissioner's office, but it is kevin.evans@mcmtb.org. Thank you again for listening.
Thank you, Kevin. I have Commissioner Kleinfeld on the queue for a question. Commissioner Kleinfeld?
Thank you, Chair. Kevin, you've got that nice big courtyard. Are you prohibited from allowing one or two family members to come in and visit with patients from a distance in that courtyard?
Yes, we have restricted visitation is still in place, and there's only certain criteria that they can visit. We do have window visits right now, and we do, if there are certain criteria, Director Gordon has 34 criteria by which we have to evaluate each person to see if they qualify and have a specific care need to be able to visit their loved ones. We believe that many, I would say all residents need this. However, I don't believe that's the spirit of that as it states. So yes, we do right now have to restrict that. We're very careful with that.
All right, thank you.
Now, our residents are still enjoying the courtyards, Commissioner Kleinfeld. I want you to know our residents are enjoying their time out there, but I can't have their family members come in.
Okay, thank you. And Chair Smith, I don't know if you want to allow legislators to ask him questions or just wait till later.
You know what, I think what we'll do is what Kevin asked, and we'll get everybody his email address and phone number, and if they have questions that they need to ask specifically. And then if there are some questions that that we would be interested in, I'll ask Kevin to come back to us and tell us about what's going on and what the questions were and what the results of them will be. That sounds all right?
Sure. If you'd like me to stay on the line, I'll wait till the end if you'd like.
No, I was just saying that any of the legislators can probably get a hold of you by email. This is going to be quite a long meeting as it is right now, but I'm sure that everybody will get a hold of you if they need to.
Very good. Right. I'll be happy to serve.
And thank you for everything you're doing. You're doing a wonderful job at Martha Teaberry, and everybody appreciates it.
Mr. Chair, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Item 8B, the Macomb County Legislative Delegation Town Hall. I'm happy to do this again, and I'll shoot back to Marv Sauger. I know you're there, Marv. He brought this up a few years back, and I know it's been done in the past, but Marv kind of got this back going again last year, and it was really a big success. I'm happy to see everybody that's joined us today, and everybody has been emailed and talked to about the parameters of it. So what we're going to do is I have a list in order. I see Debbie Stabenow on the line. I'll just say Debbie's been a longtime friend of Macomb County, and she made history in 2000 when she became the first woman elected to represent the people of Michigan in the U.S. Senate. So we really appreciate you being with us in person, Debbie, and you are our first speaker, so the floor is yours. So you have to hit *6 to unmute your phone. So I will give you a second. I'm sorry, I should have told you. You got it. Great.
All righty. Well, Bob, it's good to be with you, Mr. Chairman. It's great always to be in Macomb County, even if it's only virtual. So, and I look forward to following up with Kevin. So I appreciate all the work that he's doing, the very, very important work for all of our moms and dads and grandpas and grandmas, our most vulnerable citizens. So anxious to do that. And I want to say hello to all the county commissioners and give a shout out. My regional manager, Amanda York, has been with you the last couple of years when I haven't been able to join you. And Amanda's on the line also. And I think my colleague, Senator Peters, I think is are going to be joining, and Andy Levin and other state legislators. I'm not sure who all is on, but hello to everyone, and appreciate being able to serve with all of you. I just wanted to take a couple of minutes and first of all, say thank you. You know, I'm a former county commissioner. I started out my public service in the county, which I really love because it really was where things happen, where you make services happen for people. And in fact, it was saving the Ingham County Medical Care Facility that first got me into politics and public service. So I'm very, very, very passionate about healthcare. But I just want to thank you for all you're doing. And I was taking a look at your volunteers in Focus 2020, that, you know, you're honoring all your volunteers and what you have been able to do from feeding hungry families to supporting survivors of domestic violence, mentoring students, all the things that we know folks in Macomb County always step up, and even now doing it virtually. I want to thank you for that, and sewing cloth masks and using 3D printers to make PPE. I mean, all those things. I mean, as we've all had to step up to keep us safe and save lives. I want to thank all of you for doing that. And I loved it, Bob, when the annual Yoga at the Hill went digital with the slogan, Namaste Home. So I thought, all right, everybody's being very, very creative, which is great. So let me just talk about, mention 3 different things briefly. Obviously, we all are very focused on how we get our arms around this virus, all the tough things, balancing out, keeping people safe, saving lives, but making sure, as Kevin was talking about, people have the opportunity to reach out to their loved ones and all the important things that are part of life and valuing lives as well as our livelihoods. I mean, all that's balanced there. We had a major bipartisan effort in something called the CARES Act at the end of March that really went a long way originally to help a lot of small businesses, to help folks that lost their job because of COVID, to address eviction protections for people, to deal with testing and how to help our doctors and nurses and a whole range of things. But we know now that we need to have another round of help. And so I am very focused on what needs to come next. And I think I'm very worried there's not a sense of urgency to do that. The House of Representatives passed a very comprehensive package about 3 months ago now. There's not been a sense of urgency in the Senate, which is deeply concerning to me, because now we have that part of that package needs to be, how do we keep our children, our teachers, and custodians and bus drivers and everybody safe as we can open schools. We open schools physically. I know that Macomb County schools are now going virtual. My grandkids are in Michigan and all starting out virtually. And I have a little grandson supposed to start kindergarten, and it's really tough to do kindergarten on Zoom. And so, I share and not counting what happens in terms of working families trying to work and everything. So we need some resources for schools that will create the safety, the equipment, the environment, so parents feel safe bringing children back. You also need help. I know that when we're talking about police and fire and the county 911 system and the public health department in the middle of a pandemic, food inspectors, if we're going to reopen our restaurants, got to have food inspectors, all those things that you do. I believe strongly there needs to be another package that supports state and local government as well as schools, another round of support for small business and family farmers, as well as what needs to happen to keep people whole while they're struggling right now out of work in terms of unemployment and so on. So that's number 1 for me. Number 2, I am deeply involved when we talk about healthcare and making sure it includes mental health and substance abuse. Work closely with the mental health. Macomb County Community Mental Health have been able to bring in significant grant dollars, about $3.5 million in the last couple of years from Macomb County. And now Macomb and all of Michigan are part of a nationwide demonstration project that I've been leading, a bipartisan project with my colleague Ward Blunt from Missouri, to have comprehensive local services. So folks aren't going to the jail. They're not going to the county jail when they really need to be getting comprehensive services in the community. The third thing I would just mention is water. I co-chair our bipartisan Great Lakes caucus in the Senate. I understand about the combined wastewater issues that you face. I've been pleased to work with Candace Miller, both as a colleague of mine, but also in her role in Macomb County. And I'm very involved in trying to get a water resources bill to address what we need to do around water infrastructure and what we need to do around erosion, which is now something that is a huge issue for property owners and for all of us all over Michigan. So all things water, I am very involved in as well. So, Mr. Chairman, I will leave it at that. There are many things to talk about. I'm happy to do that, but I'm just pleased to have an opportunity to zoom in and at least have a little bit of time to talk with you.
Great. Well, we appreciate you being here. I don't have any questions, at least on the queue right now for you. So Debbie, thank you very much for everything you do for us, and thank you for joining us today. It's an honor to have you here, even wherever you might be. This is how it is nowadays, right? We're all in different places around the country, actually, but it's nice that we can do this and we've been able to make this work. So thank you very much for everything you're doing for us, and we will talk to you soon. I don't know if you can stay or if you're going to stay, but you're welcome to, obviously, but we know you're busy.
Well, thank you. I'm going to have to sign off, but I see my buddy, Congressman Levin. Hey.
Yeah.
So good to see you. And again, I'm not sure if I see Senator Peters, but my other partner, but wonderful to be with you. Amanda will stick around, and we're only a phone call or email away, always.
Great. Always good to have Amanda with us too. So thank you.
Great. Thanks.
All right. Well, next on our list is, so I will say that I have a list of tentative confirmations. Either Gary Peters will be with us or his staff member, Elsie Lancaster. So I'll leave that up to them. Tell me who's here in a minute. But Senator Peters, as an MBA or an MBA in finance, a law degree, MA in psychology, and began his political career in Rochester Hills as a councilman. So, we're happy to see how you've progressed in serving Michigan. And Gary, whether you're here or Elsie's going to speak, the floor is one of yours. So.
Hi, can you hear me? This is Elise Lancaster.
Oh, Elise, I'm sorry. I'm not so good at this.
You know what?
Elise,
I've been mispronounced and misspelled my whole life. That's fine.
Thank you,
No,
Elise.
it's good.
I'm sorry.
It's good. Thank you. It's so good to be here. I really appreciate your kind invitation and allowing me to sit in for my boss, Senator Peters. I serve as the Senator's state director. As you all know, it's a big state. We've got 7 offices across the state. We want to be highly accessible to all the people of Michigan, certainly Macomb County. I worked with Gary way back when he was in the state Senate, so I've known him a long time. I can say that he's still the same guy, and it's such a pleasure to be working for him once again for these almost 6 years now. I appreciate having a moment to highlight some of Gary's efforts and to share some of the ways that we might be able to be of assistance to you, or how we stand ready to be of assistance to you. First, I want to thank all the commissioners for the work that you all are doing. People are relying on government now more than ever. This is certainly an unprecedented and interesting time to be in public service. And I know that you're working on behalf of your constituents in Macomb County, just as we are across the state. A priority right now, I'd like to highlight 2 things, maybe 3. A big priority certainly is what's going on with the U.S. Postal Service. Senator Peters serves as ranking member of the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee. We refer to that as HSCAC. And HSCAC is the committee that has oversight over the Postal Service. So last week on Friday, Senator Peters was pushing for and secured a hearing that happened Friday morning, so the full committee could question the Postmaster General on some of the recent postal changes. Since those changes, we've heard from thousands of people in Michigan and across the country on how they've been struggling as a result of delayed mail deliveries. The House had a hearing today, and certainly we're going to continue to work on that. Senator Stabenow mentioned COVID. How can we have a conversation without mentioning health, right? That continues to be a huge priority. HSCAC also has oversight of FEMA. So Senator Peters has been working closely with FEMA. He talks with them very, very frequently about PPE, vaccines, working to help early on in particular, working to help connect vendors, working to be sure people had access to supplies, which which was a challenge early on. The Senate will be back in session the day after Labor Day and hope to discuss a fourth package, sometimes referred to as HEALS, CARES 4, skinny supplemental, whatever you want to call it. We've heard again from thousands of people across the state that we need to focus on a package to continue supplying the relief, which is vital to many, many, many of our constituents. I did want to mention, finally, in terms of initiatives, we all know that Macomb County has a large, vibrant, and highly skilled manufacturing sector. Senator Peters has introduced legislation that would create a National Institute of Manufacturing. It would serve as a hub for federal manufacturing programs and be responsible for creating and helping to implement a national strategic plan for manufacturing. We're the best in the world. I also briefly wanted to touch on 2 ways that we can be of assistance. And I would urge you, please, if there's anything that we can do for you, reach out. I can supply my contact information, my direct cell phone number. But if any of your constituents are ever having an issue where they're having an individual problem with a federal agency, please send them our way. We have a centralized casework system that works out of our Detroit office, highly skilled people with great connections with all the agencies, and we'd be happy to help. Also, as you're looking at different projects in the county and you're identifying or need help identifying federal grant opportunities, we want to help bring as many federal dollars to Michigan as we can. I know that currently there's a grant application pending for money to continue the improvements along Mound Road. You know, we were happy to write a letter of support for that. All those other projects, large or small, monies for fire departments, you know, you name it. If you please keep us aware of those things, we are happy to work with you, again, to ensure that Michigan can receive as much of that federal funding as possible. So I think I'll stop there. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us. I don't have any questions on here, so Elise, thank you very much, and tell Senator Peters thank you for letting you join us.
Of course, thank you.
So next on our list, and I know he's here because I got a little message from him, is our Congressman Andy Levin. Andy, welcome. We all know Andy Levin comes from a long legacy of Levin serving Macomb County, and he's helped us with the the BOC Green Schools program and a lot of other green projects throughout the county. Andy, the floor is yours. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Chairman Smith. It's great to be with you. It's good to see you, and even if only in these stupid little boxes, it's the way we have to relate. I love you just as much, even if I don't get to be in the wonderful commission chambers. I will mention a few things here. And then if people have questions, I'm happy to answer them. So as everyone knows, there are 2 congressional districts that share Macomb County. I represent the 9th, which includes Warren, Centerline, most of Sterling Heights, Fraser, East Point, Roseville, St. Clair Shores, Mount Clemens, and Clinton Township. And I'm going to focus my comments on recent actions that we've taken in the Congress during the COVID-19 pandemic, since I know that's a top concern of everybody. I've been having regular check-ins with the elected leaders and the staff in all 21 municipalities in my district across southern Macomb and southeast Oakland counties. And they told me in the first weeks of this crisis how COVID-19 was hitting their budgets and the huge struggles that they projected going forward. And that conversation, honestly, is what propelled me into action on local government funding. The CARES Act, which Senator Stabenow mentioned, did take positive steps on equipping local governments with tools to fight the pandemic, but it only included aid for the states and directly only for communities with over 500,000. In Michigan, that means Macomb County itself got some money, along with Wayne, Oakland, and Kent. but only the city of Detroit. No, not a single city or township in Macomb or anywhere else besides Detroit got any funding from that. So with a bipartisan group of colleagues, I introduced the Coronavirus Community Relief Act and fought to address that. And in the HEROES Act, we were able to secure $375 billion of direct aid to local governments. We passed that 101 days ago, Bob, on May 15th. So, to be precise, if the HEROES Act were passed by our friends in the Senate and signed into law, Macomb County would receive $327 million in relief in 2020 and $163 million in 2021. And every single Macomb County community would benefit. For example, one of our larger communities, Clinton Township, would receive $43.8 million over the 2 years, down to Centerline would receive $4 million over the 2 years. So biggest to smallest, all would benefit. Everybody's budget has taken a huge hit because of this crisis. But unfortunately, the Senate has not taken this up. Of course, Senator Stabenow and Senator Peters are for it, but we got to keep fighting to make sure the Senate gets in the game. A couple other things I'd like to highlight briefly about COVID relief measures. The Library Stabilization Fund Act, which I introduced in July, would create a $2 billion fund to bolster library services and address revenue losses for libraries. The bill would maintain library services and keep nearly 370,000 library workers across this country on the job. It would give libraries the fiscal space to purchase cleaning and PPE supplies and expand technology and services to support remote learning, workforce development, and all the services our Macomb County residents need from libraries more than ever during this pandemic. Also, earlier this month, I introduced the COVID-19 WIC Safety and Modernization Act. That's the Women, Infant, and Children's Law, and it would establish a task force to promote safety, equitable access, and convenience to moms and pregnant women and kids to get supplemental nutrition. Basically, why should all the more better off women and everybody else get to have remote delivery, curbside pickup, whatever, and poor pregnant women and moms not be able to have the same 21st century access to nutrition for their families? That's bipartisan, and we're really pushing forward with it. Finally, let me mention about the Postal Service. Oh my God. Whoever dreamed that the Postal Service could become a political issue? It's in our Constitution. It's a pillar of our democracy. It's essential for providing services that Americans need every single day, from the smallest hamlet in Alaska to New York City. But recent sweeping changes at the Postal Service have resulted in delays in the mail across the country. Bob, I'm going to be totally honest with you. My mother-in-law sent me a birthday card. My birthday was August 10th. I just got it 2 weeks late. She's all mad at me for not thanking her. I'm like, honest, it just got here. So this is ridiculous. And in all seriousness, I received 1,800 communications in 1 week that weren't about birthday cards, Bob. They were about veterans not receiving their medicine. They were about people not receiving their Social Security checks, and these changes where they cut overtime, restricted deliveries, eliminated sorting machines and mailboxes is just ridiculous. So on Saturday, we went into Washington and passed HR 8015, the Delivering for America Act, which would prohibit the Postal Service from implementing or approving changes to operations or service levels going back to January 1st. So they have to put back those sorting machines and keep prompt, reliable, efficient service going at least through January 2021 or through the pandemic, completing its course, whichever is later. The bill includes $25 billion that the U.S. Postal Service's bipartisan Board of Governors requested. Every one of them appointed by Donald J. Trump. We just approved the money they requested to cover COVID-related expenses. And finally, our bill requires the Postal Service to treat all election mail as first-class mail. So I'm going to continue fighting for the Postal Service so that Macomb County residents get the mail service they deserve. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, you and all of your constituents can reach us at 586-498-7122 anytime. My team is not in the office, but they're working remotely super hard. They check messages every hour on the hour business hours, and you get no loops, no press 1 for this and 2 for that. You just leave a message and a real live human being will call you back within a few business hours every single time. Both of my district outreach folks are on this call with us. Stephanie Maroki does the western part of the county in the district. So that's Centerline, Warren, and the 2/3 of Sterling Heights I represent. And Eleanor Gomulski's here. She does everything east of that. And we're ready to help you anytime. You can get info at andylevin.house.gov. Contact us one way or another. We're just here to help. And Bob, I really appreciate this opportunity to connect with you and all the commissioners and the throughout Macomb. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Andy. I have, I had Don Brown on, and then his name jumped off. So I don't know if Don removed it or not, but I also have Rob Myjack. So Don, if you want to speak, put your name back on, and then I'll know that you would like to speak. I have Commissioner Myjack on the line right now.
Yeah, hello everybody. Can everybody hear me good? Okay, great. Thanks for coming here, Andy. Just a couple, I guess, questions, comments pertaining to the Postal Service. As some of you may know, I do have a mailing house business. I've worked in this industry for about 20 years. Over those 20 years, as we all know, the post office has reduced staff due to, I believe, revenue, especially because of the internet and computers that have reduced first-class mail over the years. But specifically, what I've seen over this last year or since COVID is definitely a slowdown. I mean, you have the COVID problem, okay? And I'm not sure if you know this, Andy, or not, but maybe you could look into it. And the fact is that all the post office have been delivering so much mail from, I believe, Amazon. I mean, there's pallets of boxes at every local post office, so they have tremendous amount of work there to do because of that as well. So just to let you know about that. So how many machines have been taken out of Michigan, Andy, that you know of? I've read 2 in Detroit, 2 in Pontiac, and 2 in Grand Rapids. Is that right?
Yes, I know about those, and they were also taking more out of Pontiac. They were going to take 2 more, as I understood it. That's what one of the leaders of the American Postal Workers Union, who's a veteran of that facility, told me. Okay,
so just so everyone understands this, if anyone in Macomb County that delivers an envelope in the post office or a box, or they pick it up at your house, it gets, you know, if it's within the area of Macomb County, Oakland County, St. Clair County, Genesee, all that mail goes to Pontiac and gets sorted there and then gets distributed to its destination. So when you take out those machines, you know, I don't know how many they could run per hour. I've heard 270,000 pieces per hour, which is a lot. So that will definitely impact all type of mail, first class, political, standard, nonprofit. I think would all be slower, you know, slower than what we've all seen as candidates running for office since COVID, you know. So I just want to throw that in, and thank you very much for coming here today, Andy. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Commissioner Myjack. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you. I don't have any other commissioners on the line. So Andy, again, thank you very much for being with us and always being a friend of the commission. We appreciate you being here. So thank you very much.
You're welcome, Bob. And Stephanie and Eleanor will stay on. If there's any other issues or things that come up, we'll take notes, and we're with you 100% all the time. Thank you.
Thank you. So next we have Congressman Paul Mitchell. We didn't have a response from him. I don't know if anyone's on the line from Paul Mitchell's office, but I didn't expect to hear it from anybody. But is anyone on the line? I'll give you a minute to *6 and unmute yourself. Anybody on the line from Congressman Mitchell's office? Okay, well, I'm going to go with, we didn't get a response and I don't hear anything, so if you're there at some point and you want to talk, please let me know. We're going to move to State Senator Pete Lucido. Pete Lucido, he's visited our BOC, he shares ideas, willingly with the commission. He's an attorney who served as a state rep prior to becoming senator, and also the Republican winner of the race for prosecutor. Pete Lucido, are you with us?
I am, Bob. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me okay?
We can, and welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. And I always enjoy being here in Macomb as opposed to being in East Lansing or in Lansing. At the Capitol, at the state level, as you well know, we've been barraged, as Martha Teaberry has indicated, with a bunch of unique pieces of executive orders that have come down. These orders are not something normal or natural, but is because of the COVID epidemic and the pandemic that spread across Macomb County. We have to live with the dilemmas of closing businesses, which cause these budgets to freeze up. I know it's going to be a challenging and dynamic problem when it comes time for the budget. I know they're looking into certain things, but the biggest thing I want to talk about, and I don't know if House Member Hornberger's on, who chairs the Education Committee, is leaving it to the locals. I mean, so everybody's clear. I mean, the legislature did nothing more than leave it to the local boards that were elected locally so that they would have that opportunity to represent those individuals that put them in office, the parents, the children, or students, and then most importantly, diametrically diverse on certain issues, whether the children should return to the classroom. That's been the big issue. Our ISD here in Macomb County, as well as our local administrators, every single one of us made it abundantly clear that there's certain challenges certain schools have as it relates to technology, and regarding up north area, they have Wi-Fi issues that are just almost impossible. So it's left to each local for their local control to do what they needed to do to keep their students in the loop in the education process. But what it's going to really press down and cause a real dilemma, if you think that the budget's going to get rocked regarding the money coming from Lansing because we haven't had businesses open and the tax base to sustain it, is how about the parents that have to leave their job and sit at the computer now for this learning? Parents have to reacclimate themselves to things that they don't really know what to do and how to do it, but they're going to waddle through it. When you're losing a lot of the workforce all at once like this, and you're going to have a real pivot move on people that are actually skilled in the labor that they're doing, whether it be service or whether it be manufacturing or whatever, staying home to try to educate their kids. It's going to be a real challenge because economically they could end up losing their homes. And I'm going through it right now with my own staff. And they said we budgeted as part of our budget when we took out the mortgage, as well as all the other utilities and whatnot. But one of us has to stay home. We don't have that luxury of bringing in a tutor. You can see waiting lists on private schools that has occurred. So all these issues are going to impact each and every one of the counties that are going to happen. It's going to really be a traumatic effect here in Macomb County because we're the second largest school district in the state. So stay tuned, everybody. Put your seatbelt on and your shoulder harness. I don't want to see any undue burden, but at the same time, this is really going to rock the budget and the bottom line. As far as where we're going from here, well, we have to at least get through this year with the amount of money we have left. Where are we heading for? It just depends on whether or not we're going to have another spike. And if we do, are we ready for everything that we've already learned, which was making sure that we're not competing with the nursing care facilities and the hospitals, making sure that we have proper staffing, PPE, and all these other challenges. And something like that there, like an emergency manager that would manage the county, I'd like to make sure that that happens, Bob, and Mr. Chairman, at the level that, the county board sits there and says, let's just make sure we've got enough in our inventory to service all of those underserved, where they have those, that we can take care of the individuals of our county. So that might be food for thought. Somebody to look at the actual challenges that are going to be faced again. It's about, if not, oh well, at least we have the proper inventory ready to roll. Anything else that's going on at the county, or at the state level, there hasn't been much more to speak about. I know that certain things are moving at a slower pace because the challenges we have with meeting with the stakeholders, like we all do. But as far as unemployment goes, let me just touch on that real briefly. We have done the best we could what we had to work with. We were never in this state set up to handle this many claims all at once. There is no way we could process this many files or certain claims. And even till today, I think my office is up to 1,400. But this is for everyone. I mean, the House members that are in the district that I serve, they're also hitting these things hard, within the 1,000 range. So I'm letting you know, we did the best we could. We were reaching out. We were doing as much as we could, what we had to work with. It's the state and the administration there that lied. We weren't ready, computer-wise, software-wise, people-wise. It was just a real challenge. So I'll take any questions on that matter, because there hasn't been a lot of other issues. And if there's anything that impacts this county, I'd like to know in the next 3 months when lame duck rolls around, so that at least we have a seat at the table, but more importantly, a voice to be heard.
Great. Thank you, Pete.
Yep.
I have Rob Myjack. I'm not sure if you're still on from last time or not, Rob, but you're on my list, so I'm going to ask if are you asking to speak on this with Senator Lucido? All right. I'm going to go with no on that at this moment. So, Pete, thank you for joining us. As always, you're always very easy to get a hold of, and you're always very responsive to the board. We always appreciate you and your responsiveness and help to the board anytime we have any problems. So thank you very much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Appreciate the offer and the opportunity.
Thanks. Next, we have, well, arguably probably has the most mispronounced name in Macomb County history of politics, Senator Paul Bueno. Paul has served locally in Warren, Centerline, and interacted with our adult advisory committee at the Older Michiganians Day in Lansing last year. Paul, we always appreciate hearing from you. Paul, the floor is yours. So just a reminder, *6 gets you off of mute if you don't have the little thing on your screen to just unmute yourself. Paul, are you with us? I have that he's confirmed, so
Bob?
I'm not sure if we're having...
Bob, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we have. Yeah, hi, Paul.
Sorry, I was doing #6.
Oh.
Oh.
No problem. No problem.
But Commissioner Smith, thank you for the invitation to be here today. Senator Lucido added so much to what's going on in Lansing. But before I go on, I just wanted to say that, and I think I speak for our entire state delegation, we really suffered a huge loss here several weeks ago with the passing of Art Miller. Art just did not represent the city of Warren. He really worked with all of us in Lansing, and it's a big hole to fill. And I know that he will be missed. He was a great asset. He would meet with all of us on a regular basis and offer his insight and his help in contacting department heads. And as I said, it's a big vacuum to fill. And I also wanted to thank the Board of Commissioners. I recently had my brother-in-law pass away. We buried him this past weekend, and I received a nice sympathy card on behalf of the Board of Commissioners here, and I do want to thank you for that. But I just wanted to add a little bit more about what Pete talked about, the unemployment. We've paid out about $6 billion now at the state level to over 1.5 million recipients. And we're hoping for additional federal dollars as well. I know that the governor made application to FEMA, and you all know that that was approved for an additional $300 in benefits. That will be retroactive to August 1st. But I know there's so many families that we've been hearing from over the past several months that are going to need additional help. As Pete said, and I know we're all in the same boat, our office alone has probably handled at least 12 to 1,300 requests for help, and this goes on a daily basis. And of course, we talked about the budget here. We just passed a plan that eliminated, the $2.2 billion deficit that we were looking at. We used federal dollars to fill in gaps with some spending reductions and savings from layoffs and other measures. But going forward into the next budget, we're looking at another $3 billion deficit. And just coincidentally, the Consensus Revenue Estimating Conference began meeting at 3 p.m. today. And so hopefully we'll have a little bit more insight at the end of the day or tomorrow as to what the actual numbers will be. And Pete talked about the issues as it pertains to return to school. I know that I just had a conversation this past weekend with Mike DeVault, the Macomb Intermediate School Superintendent, and he indicated that approximately 50% of our county school districts are looking at beginning in-person instruction. And I know that there's a lot of concerns regarding our educators as they do not feel it may be safe to return to the classroom. And I think that as we get past Labor Day within the next 3 or 4 weeks, I think many of us will agree that we'll see additional school closings based on COVID spreading in the schools. And I know that Mike also expressed a concern. We currently have a teaching shortage, but COVID has actually compounded that. And they're looking at a large number of teachers that are close to retirement or eligible for retirement that have decided to not return to the classroom this year. Law enforcement. We are working at the Senate level with the Democratic caucus where we're putting together a package that is going to be looking at issues as it relates to oversight, accountability, use of force, officer training, and recruitment. And some of you may be familiar with one bill that was recently passed several weeks ago, Senate Bill 45, and it passed unanimously in the Senate. That would provide implicit bias training, de-escalation techniques, and additional mental health resources for law enforcement. And also, Senator Ananek has sponsored legislation that would increase the number of individuals on the Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement Standards to 21, and they would add a director of Department of Civil Rights. They would put on a professor of law, a professor of criminal justice, and an individual nominated by the Mental Health Association of Michigan, and 2 non-law enforcement individuals representing the public. Also started to receive a large amount of emails now as it pertains to the upcoming election. And I know that our clerks are going to be overwhelmed. I know Commissioner Myjack talked about some of the issues at the Postal Service, but I know that some of the clerks that I've spoken to have expressed the same concern with the large number of absentee ballots that they're sending out, hoping to get those back in time. I know that we have some bills in Lansing that would permit the clerks to begin processing the ballots the day before election, not counting them, but processing them, meaning taking them out of the envelope. They would still be in the security sleeve, but then they could then divide them up by precinct and prepare them for counting on election day, which would help to speed up the process for our clerks. What's interesting is auto insurance. The new auto insurance benefits went into effect here July 1st, but I really haven't received more than 2 or 3 emails on the subject. And I was somewhat surprised. I thought we'd get more feedback from the public on that, but we haven't as of yet. And one of the pieces of legislation that I've been working on recently is the fireworks bill. We all know that every 4th of July, all of us receive a large number of complaints from the community about individuals starting to shoot off fireworks too early, and that they would like to see some modifications in that. Presently, we have about 13 or 14 days on a yearly basis where you can shoot off fireworks, and my bill would basically cut that down to about 5 or 6 times per year. Senator Nesbitt, who's chair of the Regulatory Reform Committee where the bill's been assigned, he said he will be give the bill a hearing, and he's somewhat receptive to possibly making some changes to that. And I'm also on the task force for human trafficking and elder abuse, and presently on a work group on sexual harassment as well, as it pertains to individuals who are employed at the state level, whether it be legislators or staffers. But I also wanted to take the quick opportunity. I know that some of the commissioners will not be on the board come the first of the year, and those who are leaving, I just want to thank you for your service and having the ability to work with you as state senator this past year and a half, Warren City Clerk for 11 years, and also previous to that, a state representative in the mid to late 90s. So I do want to thank you for your times of service and appreciated all the work that you've done. And if anybody does have any issues that they need to contact our office, our number is 517-373-8360, 517-373-8360. I also do have on the line today Bill Drake, who's my chief of staff. I will be leaving shortly here in the next 10 minutes or so. But if anybody has any questions after that, I know that Bill will stay on and he'll be able to answer your inquiries. So with that, I know there's a lot of people waiting, and I kind of rushed through some topics very quick. But again, thank you for the invitation today.
So, Paul, I have one commissioner with questions, but I want to.
Sure.
I'd be remiss if I agree with you on the great loss to our county with Art Miller. I mean, Art Miller was a friend to all, and I don't care Republican, Democrat. He was like one of the true politicians who could cross party lines and make deals and be, respected all across the board. We'll all miss him greatly. That is for sure.
Absolutely.
I have Don Brown. Commissioner Brown.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator Wono, for coming and participating today. You're respected and building a reputation as Senator Miller had before you, and we appreciate your being a service to the county.
Thank you.
My question is about our recent application to Chapman. Eagle denied our application to Chapman to reduce the pollution in the Lake St. Clair, and because of the partisanship involved with the governor being in your party, we were hoping that you guys could persuade her and the administration to grant that permit. Where do we stand on that? Is that really dead, or is that, what can you do to help us with that? Because that's what made such a big difference.
Yeah, well, the first thing I want to do is compliment Kevin Hertel. He's really taking the lead on this issue over the past several months, and he's been very aggressive at the state level in working on this. I know that we have had several Zoom meetings with the state, and I know that we were recently denied. I believe that came out just last week regarding the permits. I have not had an update since the denial of last week, nor have had the opportunity to speak with Kevin on the issue. I know he's probably out there somewhere in this meeting, and when he comes on, he may be able to update what the next step is. But since the denial of last week, I have not had any contact with anybody at the state level or Representative Hertel.
And we could certainly ship them the footage of the raw sewage coming out of the pipe there, outside into the lake, and it denies common sense why they weren't agreeing. It may not have been the perfect solution.
Sense, absolutely, because they've been there, they know what the issue is. They've admitted it's a huge problem, but yet they fail to address it.
What can the legislature do to take action administratively, through the budget or other means to apply the screws to that department, to the administration to do what we like them to do? Because after all, they do work for us, right?
Yeah, I know at our last meeting, Kevin had some ideas as to some unconventional ways of securing funding to address the issues over there, and that would be done legislatively. And I know that they were looking at introducing some legislation in the House, which I don't believe has been introduced yet.
Okay, well, you have our board's full support to help wherever we can to help you move that thing forward. And appreciate your time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Don.
Yeah, and thanks, Don. Thanks for bringing that up. I mean, I just want to correct one thing. When you say raw sewage, Don, I know it's terrible because it's treated but not treated down at the Detroit plant. So I don't want to be misleading that it's completely raw. It is treated before it gets dumped out there, but it's horrible nonetheless that has to happen any more than it has to happen. And I agree that it's almost like, I don't care how much common sense and how much everybody agrees that this needs to happen, that the answer was mind-boggling when we were on. I was on several meetings with them, and I just don't get it. I do get it, but it doesn't make any sense at all. So thanks for bringing that up, and Paul, thank you for pushing that issue. And yes, Kevin is, I believe, on the line, and he'll be in a few more speakers. So thank you, Paul, for joining us.
Thank you.
So next we have State Senator Dan Lowers. Dan, I think he's on via phone. Dan represents New Baltimore in the northeast part of Macomb, which is adjacent to Lake St. Clair. And I know that, he's one of the, he's also worked with my friend Jeff Bohm, who's the chairman of the board of the commissioners in St. Clair County. So are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks, Bob.
Great.
Thanks everyone for the opportunity to join you today. I think I'm going to keep it short because otherwise I think we'll just be repeating a lot of the same information. Senator Bueno mentioned the budget, and that's I think the major focus for the remainder of this calendar year in the legislature. Even though we'll have some kind of a budget framework put together by the end of September here, I think the budget work is going to continue. A little bit of good news at the revenue estimating conference that Paul mentioned. It is expected that things are going to be a little bit better than we had feared, I guess, originally. The stimulus checks, the unemployment enhancement, the PPP program, all those things together have kept sales a little bit higher, kept the building trades moving. I think the probably where we need to be watching or keeping a watchful eye on is taxes, property taxes, and that's what's really going to affect our local governments. That's an area of concern, and we're aware of it. We're watching it, and I think that that's one of those budget issues that we could be dealing with, after the beginning of the new fiscal year, but still affects the 2021 year. So that's, I think, the major thing I wanted to share with everyone. And of course, if there's ever questions or concerns or just the opportunity for input, I want to make sure all the commissioners there have my cell number. So I'd like to share that. For those that don't, it's 810-343-4203. Bob, we'll turn it back over to you.
Great, thank you. Don, I have you down still on the list. I'm not sure if you're on for Dan or not. So if you are, jump on. If not, I'm going to. Oh, I see it was removed. So thank you very much for joining us. Staff will also take all of these numbers and forward them to all of our commissioners. So I skipped over Senator Mike McDonald because we didn't get a response from him. So I want to make sure that if there's anybody from his district or from his.
This is Senator McDonald. Can you hear me?
Oh yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
yes,
great.
sir. I'm on just by phone. Yes.
All right. Well,
I'll be brief.
Yeah.
I got a couple bullet points I'll go over. We've resumed our coffee hours. We've been doing them outdoors. We've been doing this in the great parks in Macomb County. Probably the best coffee hours we've had. We've been averaging about 30, 40 people. Most of the people have unemployment issues. My office was specifically able to help 600 people get their unemployment, which we're proud of. Obviously, the state legislatures helped navigate $350 million from the feds to the local. We put $555 million to the schools, $200 million toward the universities and community colleges. We've been helping stockpile PPE, at least directing that toward Michigan. Anybody who doesn't know about my Ice Arena initiative, please look up the Michigan Save the Rinks Facebook page. It's a bipartisan effort. Have support from across the aisle. Got 5,000 signatures. I was able to send over to the governor. If you haven't looked at that, please do. Was able to help get $300,000 for Clinton Township to the Natural Resources Trust Fund. We opened the first ever in the United States of America military collaboration office in Sterling Heights at the DC-3S. Also, the final thing is be on the lookout for Selfridge. Hopefully, it will be made the command and control center, which would make it an active base coming up here in the next couple months. Any questions? Feel free to reach out anytime.
All right, let me just check real quick. I'm sorry that, I have Commissioner Leonetti on the line. Commissioner Leonetti, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mike, I would be remiss, my daughter, Veronica, I told that you would likely be on here today, and she wanted me to personally thank you for your efforts with the ice rinks. So really appreciate that. Wonderful. And everything you've done with that. Really do. Thank you.
No problem.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Thank you. I don't have any other questions, but I will say that one of the biggest problems that all of our residents are facing, and you hit on this, and I know that it's the state senate, our state representatives are also trying to help, is this COVID payment and the unemployment payment. And I mean, that is really, a lot of these people are living paycheck to paycheck, and when something screws up, especially in the middle of it, for no reason, and they all of a sudden aren't getting their pay, that is probably the biggest problem I see coming out of this pandemic, because there's really, they don't know what to do. A lot of people, unfortunately, are living check to check. And so we appreciate yours and all the state representatives helping in this matter to get this thing straightened out. So thank you for joining us, Senator McDonald. And with that, we're going to move on to state representatives. And speaking of state representatives, one that I've been talking to a lot recently, Representative Kevin Hertel, comes from a family entrenched in Macomb County Public Service and has been devoted to the community from a very young age. And Kevin, I think everybody knows who you are. We appreciate you joining us, so the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the commissioners, excuse me, for the opportunity to be with you today. I guess I'll touch on a few things from what I've heard, and I don't want to repeat some of the issues I've already talked about. Obviously, unemployment, as you mentioned, and I know your daughter is a constituent of mine and has experienced some issues that we are trying to help with. And so, everybody's been touched by this across our communities. And my office specifically has dealt with over 1,000 requests for assistance with the Unemployment Insurance Agency. And so I was just on the phone this afternoon with a resident who has still been waiting 5 months. And thankfully now she's back to work. and is receiving her normal income, but still is owed a large portion of money from the state from the time that she was laid off. And so we've been doing all we can to make sure we help everybody in the best way we can. And I think all the legislators on the line today know that, we do the best to make sure the agency has the resources that they have. We did supply extra money in the budget for them to hire more staff. And we try to push them as much as we can to move these claims along as quickly as possible. Some are taking just much longer than others, and I have been just as frustrated as many constituents across my district, and I know many others. So we're doing all we can to help. I think the other issue is the Chappaqua Basin. And I caught the question from, I believe it was Commissioner Brown, and the response from Senator Wino. And this has been an issue that myself and legislators from across Macomb County in a bipartisan fashion, the Board of Commissioners and your work, city councils across the community have supported as well. And so it's incredibly important that we do all we can to protect Lake St. Clair. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. And this was a project that Commissioner Miller brought forward that I thought was extremely efficient in use of our tax dollars, and also solved a large portion of the combined sewer overflow issue at the south end of St. Clair Shores. It handles all of the discharge from the city of East Point and about 25% of the city of St. Clair Shores. And so that facility at the foot of 9 Mile Road, the idea to add a retention basin where a canal now exists, a man-made canal that was put there in the 60s. The biggest challenge that we have, and I'll try to be as quick as possible with this, but biggest challenge we've run into with the state, the department, has been the fact that that canal is deemed waters of the state. It was deemed waters of the state, I believe, back in the early 2000s. It is under the Clean Water Act. The federal government allows states to identify waters of the state. So what we're looking at now is they have, let me be clear, they've made exemptions in the past. The department has to use waters of the state for retention purposes. They did it at the Connor Creek facility, which is further south in Wayne County. But I will be clear, that was discharge of raw sewage that they were trying to mitigate. And so they did allow them to use those waters. This is combined sewer overflow, which, as Bob mentioned, is treated sewage. So it's chlorinated sewage. It's partially treated. The idea would be you would retain it in this basin until you could clean it again in the right way and fully discharge. So we've worked with the department to try to have them see it our way. Obviously, they denied the permit. My last conversation with the director has been that, okay, this is the decision you have made. Now we need to move forward. And what are you going to do to address the issues that we see in our communities across Macomb County? We are working with them to try to find some resources. They want to work on some projects upstream. I know that Commissioner Miller has a project she is moving forward with, and the pipes that lead to Chappaqua to utilize retention there. So, we're going to continue to push them to support projects like this. I thought it was a very innovative way to look at handling these overflows that happen all across the state, and other communities could learn from the work being done here in Macomb County. Just to wrap up, we are looking at some legislation that would either create a pilot project to allow the department to start looking at some of these new things. We do have challenges when we look at that regarding the waters of the state issue, and so the feds might have to help with that. And then also we're looking at the overall standards that are used to permit these overflows currently. And if we were to increase the strictness of these permitting standards, then maybe we could force some of these changes to occur. We want to do it in a responsible way, knowing that it's expensive to address a lot of these problems. But that's something we're exploring as well.
Great. Well, thank you. Commissioner Kleinfeld, you just jumped in there. Commissioner Kleinfeld, you have a question.
Oh, thank you, Chair. I actually should have asked it at the beginning of the meeting, since I realize people are leaving after they speak. If the remaining speakers, if any of them would like to touch on 4-year terms for county commissioners and where they may be headed, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Kevin, do you have anything to say about that necessarily? Or
it's something that me and Commissioner Kleinfeld have spoken about in the past, and I know that it's something that the Michigan Association of Counties also has been working on. As it's come before the legislature, obviously there's always the idea of politics. And I know there was some concern as how those election years line up. I was working with a group from MAC and some others to try to get them to the table to agree on some language to move forward. That necessarily hasn't happened yet, but COVID-19 has changed the focus of a lot of things that were previously moving in Lansing. So it's something we probably should reconnect on again, Veronica, and see where we can go. Because I do think there were some meaningful conversations happening with folks that were involved, some of the folks that were opposed that could get them to a yes. And so, and then ultimately get those bills passed.
Great. Thank you. And I'm one of the commissioners that won't be coming back, so it really doesn't matter to me. But I will say that a 4-year term makes so much sense, just like in your state representative. Running every 2 years is just doesn't seem to fit in with being able to do as much work as you need to do. Along with your 6-year term limit, by the time you guys know what you're doing, you're already on your way out the door, which seems also ridiculous. So I would say that everybody I've talked to is for it. The problem is some of the people higher up are worried about the problem of, well, then they can run for our position. I mean, it is what it is. It should just be done right, no matter if it affects, someone running for a different position on an off year or not. So I hope that you guys continue that after, and I know it's not the topic, that's the most important right now, but once all of this other stuff's behind us, I hope that you guys can get this through. So thank you very much, Kevin. I don't have anybody else on the line. Thanks for joining us, as always, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks. Next, we have John Churkin, State Representative Churkin. I know Commissioner Hawk couldn't make it today, but he was here. I ought to let him do the introductions since they were colleagues and neighbors and friends. But Representative Churkin has had a little career with the County Sheriff's Department and served at the local level as well as being a state rep. So, John, the floor is yours.
Okay. Can everybody hear me?
We can.
Okay, that's good. And I promise you I won't take as long as Senator Wayno did, because there's not much left to discuss after he got off the floor. I'm just kidding. I just want to touch real quick. Well, first of all, I want to thank all the commissioners that aren't going to return next year. They've done a fine job up to this point. Some of them are near and dear friends to mine, and I just want to say you've all done a good job. And we look forward to working with you in your respective districts or hometowns. Thank you. You hear that, Marvin? That was for Marv Sauger. So anyways, I don't want to stay on the long, we've been here for a long time now, but I just want to touch on Representative Hertel's about the Chapaton drain. I get frustrated. Being the mayor of Roseville, I sat on the SEMSD and the SMDA. I've been dealing with the people from, well, at that time it was DEQ, but now it's called EGLE. And I'm dealing with 20, 25-year bureaucrats. And anytime I've ever known to throw something in, to resolve a problem, they've always said no. I don't know if they teach that in DEQ school with them or not, but I'm real critical of them going forward. And Don Brown, I listened to your questions earlier, and there's just some things we have to do that are thinking outside the box. Whether Kevin goes back and creates a bill to do what we need to do, that's one thing. But it's like he says, instead of trying to help us and say, hey, look, we need to do this or we need to do that. I mean, our price tag, I think the drain commissioner had a $30 million price tag on hers, and they want us to do something that's $60 million. It's out of the questions for the taxpayers of Macomb County to pay that much. We all want clean water. We all want to go swimming in it. We've had this problem for over 20 years, and the state's got to step up and help us. But with the COVID going on, I can understand it being put on the back burner. But in the future, we, and like I suggested to Kevin Hertel, him and the governor and the head of DEQ or EGLE has to get in a room along with Candace Miller, and they got to come up with a plan saying what we're going to do and go forward with it. And it's on the governor to precipitate it to make it go forward, as far as I'm concerned. Commissioner Kleinfeld, for those, she's been sitting on these meetings too with Wayno and us and Hertel. So, your board's and Harold Hall, my commissioner, I can't forget him because he'll get mad at me since he's not here today. But anyways, we've all been working diligently to do this. And it basically, it started when the green ooze was coming out of the drain down there in Oakland County. So hopefully we'll be able to come to a conclusion to this. It's probably later than sooner because, like I said, you mentioned about the 4-year terms, Chairman. When you're there 6 years, they're going to deal with another 6 people after that, and it's like they start from the beginning and go forward. By that time, most of them people in DEQ be retired. But anyways, the other thing is I'm working on is, they talk about the police department. I'm trying to pass a law that anybody with a city from 15,000 to 115,000 can put a millage, a police and fire millage. Right now, townships can do it. Cities cannot do it if they're in that ballpark range for the population. So I'm trying to get rid of the population thresholds so more cities can get more police and fire if they need them, and put it on the ballot so the people of the city can tell us. When I first started with Roseville, we had 85 street cops. Now we're down to 60. So and I know it's like this in Warren and in Roseville, and we need to do something about it, and that'll clear the way for it. The other thing I'm working on with Senator Runstead out of Oakland County is nursing home complaints. And one that's near and dear to my heart because of what happened to my mother-in-law was cameras in nursing homes. We'll be working on that diligently throughout the end of the term. And Chairman, maybe during lame duck, that 4 years will come to fruition. Commissioner Kleinfeld, maybe that'll come up, because I can tell you, I don't know what Kevin's, but I haven't heard anything about that bill since it was introduced. It's kind of a closely guarded secret. So hopefully during lame duck. But that's, and UIA, the unemployment situation, all of us are dealing with it. I've got over 2,000 claims my staff and myself have been working on. And it's slowing down now, but people are still hitting the unemployments. So, we post our numbers, we post the states on our websites, our Facebook pages. And if anybody needs help, please, if you live in that community, if you live in Veronica Kleinfeld's district or Bob Smith or Harold Hall's, please call them and they can tell you what to do. They can contact me or they can contact my office. And with that, I'll just take any questions if anybody has.
Thanks, John. And I appreciate you working on behalf of law enforcement, because we know that though the media is perpetuating the fact that everybody wants to defund the police departments, I know that the vast and overwhelming majority of people don't want that to happen. So thank you very much for that. Commissioner Kleinfeld, I have you on the list still. Are you from this time or still from last time?
No, that was from last time. But if I heard correctly, I think that Bob, he just told a bunch of people to call you and me.
I thought so too.
Hey, just remember, Mr. Mascot.
Great. Well, thank you very much, John, for joining us. I don't have any other commissioners or any other questions, but that everybody knows you and knows your number, and they'll contact you if they have any questions.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. And Brian, you know my office phone number.
We're going to give that out in a minute.
Thank you.
State Representative Steve Marino, but I had Steve confirmed, and then I thought he left the meeting, so I'm not really sure what the status of Steve Marino is. I will say he's a former county commissioner, and we'd love to have him back and hear from him. However, Steve, are you or anybody from your office with us? I'll give you a minute. Mary Kay is obviously.
Bob, this is Patty, and I received a message from Rep. Marino that he wasn't able to stay any longer. He had another commitment, and there will not be any staff speaking for him at this meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Patty. I also have next would be State Representative Nate Shannon, but I didn't have a response from him, but I didn't also have a response from someone else that actually showed up. So is anybody from State Representative Shannon's office on the line?
That's me, Bob. I'm here. Rep is here. All right. Can everybody hear me okay?
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Okay. Hey, so
yes, we can.
Thank you so much for having me today. And I don't want to take up too much time. A lot of topics have been discussed already. I think Senator Lucido pretty much said it best that unemployment issues. We solved the issue of coming back to school within, the legislature's confines. So that's sort of what's been happening. With regard to unemployment, as all the other representatives have talked about, that we've been dealing with hundreds and hundreds of people that have not received their unemployment. We have resolved over 400. We still have 200 out there approximately that are still waiting to get some sort of relief from the UIA. I talked with my staff today, and I want to give a shout out to Nick Strunk, that maybe some people on this call have actually have talked to, because he's done a great job with being very compassionate and personal with people's issues with unemployment. He did say today that they have a little bit more access as far as having an update of where people's claims are. So if you haven't been resolved, they are now able to go onto the website and find out what the issue is. Before it was us just reaching out saying, there's some issue that one of our constituents is having. Can you please explain it to us and what they need to do, and reach out to them so that they can have their issue resolved. So at least now we can see what the problem is, and let that constituent know, so that they can kind of be proactive, trying to get their unemployment claims resolved. So it's been heartbreaking. I've had many discussions with people that they just don't know what they're going to do. And not having any sort of income, we're going to have, some serious economic impact because of that. And, I think it was Senator Lucido was talking about people losing their homes and those kind of things. And that's just, that is heartbreaking. And hopefully we can continue to work hard for our constituents to make sure that they are having their needs met. As far as the right to learn legislation that we passed last Monday, although it was not perfect, I was very happy to see that it was a bipartisan effort, and that negotiations and compromise came in, and to be able to give some clarity to our school districts, because they were sort of in limbo. They didn't know what was going to be required of them. And I know that not everybody's happy with it, but at least they know what the requirements are, and so that they can start making their plans, because I represent a part of Utica Community Schools and Warren Consolidated, and we're starting next week. And my son goes to Utica Community Schools, and so I know how difficult it's going to be to get this off the ground. My son will be in 4th grade. My daughter was supposed to go into preschool. Haven't had an update on as far as preschool is going to be offered in Utica schools yet. I think that there is some efforts to try to do some sort of something online for them. So it'll be difficult, but we'll get through. And I would want to make sure that people know that if you're having any issues with going back to school with your kids, and you think that my office could be of help, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. I'll try to be really quick here. We talked about the budget, where the Revenue Estimating Committee is conference. They're meeting today, so we'll have a better idea of where our budget will be and what sort of revenue we have. And then also, I'm laser focused, and I know all of us on this call are laser focused on making sure that we are mindful of the economy and trying to get that back as soon as possible. The one thing that I did want to highlight, that the last bill that I did introduce and would love to see it's take some action, is addressing the issue of school lunch debt. We're going to have a lot of kids whose parents have lost their jobs, and not denying a student a lunch while they're at school, this is eventually, and I know that there's some schools that are going back face to face. It's just immoral, and something needs to be done. If there's a systematic change that needs to happen, but if we can help school districts in some way to be able to address the issue of school lunch debt, I think is going to be really important in the next upcoming years because of the budget crunches that we're going to have. So I'm free to take any questions, but that's I wanted to be brief on my report, and that's all I have.
Okay, well, thank you. I think I have, although I touched something on a computer screen here and lost my list, I think I saw Commissioner Kleinfeld up next.
No, I had to request to speak and then unspeak to get my name off the list.
That's fine. I'm sorry, this computer is a little foreign to me. I'm using someone else's computer, so I don't have a list. If any other commissioners would like to speak, please let me know. Otherwise, Representative Shannon, I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you. Well, from a former high school teacher to a former fourth grade teacher. We have State Representative Lori Stone. We're happy to have you. Thank you for joining us. We're sure that your background in elementary education comes in handy up at the state level. So thank you again for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us for this legislative update. I just want to take this opportunity to give a shout out. Thank you to Commissioner Duje and Commissioner Sauger. They've served our community well, and they've been knowledgeable and experienced commissioners to turn to when I need advice or some guidance. In my first term, from Warren and Centerline, you know, a bulk of the time and efforts lately have gone into handling unemployment. With over 1,400 cases, we've been able to assist. But more than that, we've been able to provide a point of contact. So with phone lines overwhelmed and so many cases that need to be resolved, often our state legislators, we pick up the slack. So we pick up the phone calls and help direct people, file inquiries, pursue those until benefits have been received. In addition, we're doing a lot to create new legislation to help resolve some of these issues for further cases in unemployment. So one of the things that I've noticed and has been brought up by constituents is the language that unemployment communicates with. A lot of the times it's department jargon that the general public is not familiar with. So whether it's a non-monetary issue or different things, they don't know how to proceed. So by offering up legislation to address how our unemployment department interfaces with the public, I think is something we can help ease going forward. I really appreciated the updates from Kevin Evans about our nursing homes and what the state is now. I've been working with a work group on the issue of nursing homes, hubs, and how do we best serve our seniors during COVID. We have a package of bills ready to go in September to help improve upon the guidance we've had so far in protecting our seniors. And then I guess the heart of what I wanted to get to was working with local school districts on returning to learn safely. I've used my background in education to reach out to superintendents and local school boards, as well as working with teachers and parents to help guide and advise where I can. What does returning to learn look like? And I appreciated that the issue was raised that a lot of these are local issues to be decided locally, because what that landscape of contagion looks like depends on, it could be city, it could be county, it could be region, and not everybody is in the same boat. So empowering local decision makers to evaluate data and statistics, evaluate the needs of the community, as well as what they have to offer or limitations, and make those decisions accordingly. So the return to learn funding mechanism that was created last Monday when we adopted it was providing local school districts a way of accounting for their student population separate from a traditional accounting method. So they have the flexibility for virtual, hybrid, or traditional face-to-face education, and they have the ability to adapt and be flexible because we know conditions are changing. Another ask has been childcare. What does childcare look like for parents, essential workers, teachers, and how can that access be facilitated better? I know that MISD was able to facilitate a network of local providers and district affiliated childcare providers in the spring in order to meet the needs of essential workers. And so we continue to look at what we can do to improve upon that. Then the last ask that I'm getting more is for better guidance from departments of health for decision makers. We have different standards as far as, high risk, very high risk for transmission. And we know that Macomb County overall is a hot spot right now. However, local school districts want to know how much does local transmission within a city versus countywide when you have teachers who live across borders, county borders, and they know they have an idea of how they measure, how to close for weather conditions. They have a really good grasp of that, but they don't have very firm guidelines, and not being public health professionals themselves, they're dependent on their public health professionals to kind of help interpret the data for them. So in the education realm, those are the big focuses.
Great. Well, thank you. Let me see. I don't have anybody on my list to speak. So again, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you being here. So next on our list is, I think Diana Farrington was on the list, but she's unable to participate. So I just want to double check and just make sure that no one from her staff is on. I don't anticipate them being on. So not hearing anybody. Our next guest is State Representative Bill Sowerby. And Bill Sowerby is an old friend of mine from when I was on the fire department in Clinton Township, was a treasurer in Clinton Township, was a former commissioner, and we appreciate you being here, Bill. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Bob. Good to see you, and good to hear everybody on the county board, some of those who I served with when I was there. And Bob, you're my county commissioner, so we have a lot of conversations. Just real quick so that board members know, I serve on 4 committees in the House. I serve on the Policy Committee of Education Committee. I serve as the Minority Vice Chair of the Natural Resources and Outdoor Recreation Committee. I also serve on the Local Government Municipal Finance Committee and also on the Commerce and Tourism Committee. So I'll be real brief here. A lot of the topics have already been talked about here today. One, though, I think that needs to be brought to the attention of the Board of Commissioners is a process that the board has participated in for many years, and that's the solid waste planning process. And there is a series of 6 bills. It is a package. The bill numbers are 5812 through 5817. And this is the solid waste planning Part 115 rewrite. This will change going forward what the solid waste planning process will look like for counties going forward. We have Pine Tree Acres in our county, so we are impacted by this. And basically, this is a rewrite to better address recycling. It has a goal of reaching 30% recycling by the year 2025, with an ultimate goal of having a 45% recycling process. These are bills that have actually been worked on, believe it or not, for the past 6 years by the solid waste industry, recycling industry, environmental industry, businesses. A whole slew of people have been working on these bills. And so they'll not only deal with recycling, but also on the siting of any kind of new landfills that are proposed, existing landfills, also about regulating the methane gas emissions that occur at the landfills, and then the post-closure process of the landfills, as well as holding all of the actors that are dealing with it, the materials management plan. Those are from the recycling process to composting process to certain types of incineration process. All that are part of these bills. Very important, I feel, that the Board of Commissioners is keeping this in your eyes. I have one of the bills. It's a bipartisan package. It did pass recently out of the Natural Resources Committee with significant numbers. It is now in the next House committee, which is the Ways and Means, and likely will come out of that and onto the House floor and then onto the Senate. We're hoping that these bills will get onto the governor's desk for signing before this current session ends. And so that is the package bills I wanted to at least bring you up to date on. And then you asked how you can reach me. Real quick, my email is williamsowerby@house.mi.gov. My phone number at the office is 517-373-0159. And my home phone is 586-286-9762. Thank you for the opportunity and happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Thanks. And his address is, I'm just kidding.
I know yours too.
Thanks, Bill. I don't have any speakers, so thank you again for joining us. We always appreciate it. You're always available to us, and we appreciate that, and I appreciate it. So again, thanks for joining us. Next is State Representative Pamela Hornberger. Pamela has a long history in education. She was an art teacher for many years and served on Las Cruz District School Board. And when our commissioner, Phil Kraft, is not being a commissioner, he also works for Representative Hornberger. So, Ms. Representative Hornberger, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Yes, Phil, I'm lucky to have Phil in my office. We cover all the bases in the 32nd District. So as my colleagues earlier spoke about education, obviously that's my passion. I'm the House Education Chair, and I also am the Vice Chair of the K-12 Appropriations Committee. So as Representative Stone and Shannon both pointed out, we recently passed on Friday, the governor signed some bipartisan legislation that we've been working on for months to give districts across the state some flexibility and some stability in creating their plans on returning back to work. I think we still are working on some plans on, what does, as Representative Stone pointed out, we have plans in place for snow days and for other things, and teachers and buildings know how to handle those. So we need to come up with some plans for what does it look like when a child tests positive or a family member tests positive or a staff member tests positive. So I'm putting some protocols in place. We're looking at that right now, working with Senator Tice in the Senate, who's my education chair counterpart, and with Senate Majority Leader Shirkey. So one of the biggest things we're doing, and then right now, while I'm listening to you guys, I'm also watching the Consensus Revenue Estimating Conference just to see, what our forecast looks like moving forward and how that's going to impact our schools. Hoping that we can work to get as much stability and funding for our schools and Macomb County schools and schools across the state moving forward. I actually just got off the phone earlier with Joe DeVault, who I'm pretty much in contact with every day, and his dad, Mike. So Macomb County's been wonderful to work with, very helpful, lots of input. And as well as Oakland County, I have to give them credit. So they've been big supporters in getting children, the stability that they need and getting hopefully back into the classroom. But moving forward, if you guys have any questions about, any other legislation or funding, we're keeping an eye on it, but pretty much my focus has been on education for the past few months.
Well, thank you very much. The nice thing is that we have Phil on our board, so anything that's going on or anybody that needs to contact you, we contact Phil, and he's right on it. So, and you do have a great guy working for you for sure. He's well respected on our board, that is for sure. So
he's very knowledgeable. I'm lucky to have him.
Good. Well, listen, we don't have any questions for you, so thank you very much for joining us. And we're going to move on to State Representative Jeff Yarrick. Jeff Yarrick and I have some things in common. We were both Clinton Township firemen, firefighters. We both went to Cooley Law School. Jeff and I have known each other for, geez, I don't know, 30 years now. He was on the Richmond City Council, and now he's the state representative. So Jeff Yarrick, welcome. The floor is yours.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate being here, talk to our partners in county government. It said, not going to repeat a lot of things that my colleagues have already said. Obviously, during this time of COVID, we're all working to keep our constituents safe, helping constituents understand the executive orders, helping them through the UIA issues. I'm included in that, and in the trenches, taking calls. Some of the issues, though, I will say that it was very disappointing early on that our state government and federal government just got into some finger pointing as far as who was supposed to have personal protective equipment. Me coming in from local government, there's always been that, as a first responder myself, always been that discussion about proper PPE. And so to resolve that finger pointing, I've introduced House Bill 5767, which will require the state of Michigan to have its own stockpile of personal protective equipment. And it's also a transparency bill so that the bureaucrats can't say that we have a stockpile when there's not much there. So there would actually be a website that shows what we have and the expiration dates, so people can call us out if there's not what we think is in there. I'm also the subcommittee chair for appropriations for LARA. We did some questioning regarding LARA. LARA is the licensing agency for nursing homes and their role in placing COVID-19 patients into nursing homes. They have 80 inspectors that are out inspecting nursing homes. I will say very disappointing that Lara's position was that DHHS created the COVID-19 plan, but they did not look at any science or data, whether they agreed with it or not. They pretty much just checked the boxes. So I will say it's really disappointing to me that when we have 80 people who have real life experience in nursing homes, we're not asked. I will say, as a paramedic myself, having been into nursing homes a lot, getting patients, I surely would question some of the nursing homes' ability to keep our vulnerable patients safe. So I really believe that Lara had a duty to step up and either say we agree with it based on the science or we don't agree with it. But they really, the answers we got is that they were not even looking. They were just doing what DHS told them to do. As far as the budget, obviously I'm on appropriations. I actually was on city council during the last recession, and I've always had the philosophy of when we make these cuts that we all have to share the pain. So I personally have taken a 10% pay cut because if I'm going to ask other departments to dig into their budgets, I'm going to feel some pain too. So I've already taken a 10% pay cut. I have some good government bills. I will say that I've introduced 5973 and 5974. This requires civil asset forfeiture funds to go through the treasurer's office and then be appropriated through whatever the appropriating body is of that community. Is that we have another, obviously, kind of try to talk about some other things we're working on, because although COVID has really taken all the attention, there's other issues that still need to get done for the state of Michigan. Macomb County is still a donor county, so Senator Lucido and I both have bills that have been also co-sponsored by our colleagues to try to keep pushing on the fact that Macomb County is a donor county, to try to get our fair share into Macomb County. Another little thing that I'm proud to see as far as clean water, I want to really acknowledge Public Works Commissioner Miller for all her efforts. I think she did a great job on 15 Mile Road. I appreciate what she's doing on Chapelton, and very sensitive to clean water issues. I will say that one of the things as being a former firefighter that I took on is this whole PFAS issue in firefighting foam, something that we were talking a lot about it before COVID, and it's still an issue. But I worked with EGLE and Budget and Representative Aller to create a program to take back foam that has PFAS in it from fire departments at the state's cost and properly dispose of it, so that wouldn't be exposing firefighters or the environment or public health. And my understanding is the last report is that we've properly disposed of some 40,000 gallons of firefighting foam that contains PFAS. So that's PFAS that's being properly disposed of, that's not going into the environment, and allowing fire departments to then replace it with a little safer, more environmentally friendly foam. So kind of keeping it short because of all these things. Again, we are available in my office, 517-373-0820. I'm often in my office too, so it may be me answering the phone because I take the calls too.
Thank you, Jeff. Good seeing you as always. I don't have any other questions for any other commissioners, so thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
So last but certainly not least is State Representative Doug Wozniak. Doug is another attorney focused on elder law and senior programs. He's been a longtime active member, and he represents northwest corner of Macomb County. So Doug, I believe that you're with us, so the floor is yours. Thank you for joining us. Uh-oh, last one. Doug, just if you happen to be here, it's *6 to get you off of mute. And I'm going to say I'll give you a few minutes here since you're the last one. I don't want to cut you off. Does any of my staff know if Doug or any of the staff is on?
Yeah, Doug's on. He'll be joining us shortly.
Shortly, like in a minute?
Well, let me tell you a joke. No.
Oh, yeah. All right. You see him on there, Commissioner Brown? Is that what you see his number on there?
I don't. Stand by.
Any staff members help us with this? Any staff members help us with this?
Smith, this is Michael. I'm not seeing a representative from the office on the line.
Okay.
Yeah, formally I saw actually Rep. Wozniak's name on the list, and I don't see it right now.
Okay. Well, I'll give him a shot at if he shows up. I will certainly give him his time, but until that happens, I guess he's our last legislator. I just want to thank all of you who are still on the line for joining us. It's nice to hear from all you. We're happy to have you, and we appreciate you coming and giving us an update like this. So again, thank you very much. We have a motion on the floor to receive and file. So I think it's time to have a vote.
Chair Smith, Commissioner Romano, if I may.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Romano, what was that?
Just want to give if I may, just to take a moment here. I want to give a shout out not only to.
We're going to go into new business in 1 second there, Commissioner Romano. I was just waiting for the results of that vote. I'm going to assume that vote to receive and file passed by unanimous vote. So let's go to item number 9, new business. Commissioner Romano, you're first up for new business.
Thank you. Just want to give this was a really very informative meeting, and I want to give some shout outs here. Number one to Mr. Sauger. Marvin put this together with the last one. This one really came together very nicely. And you, Bob, as our chair, I appreciated the introductions to all of the different legislators because I didn't know a lot of their backgrounds. And I also want to give a shout out to our staff for putting this town hall together because it was tedious getting a hold of all these legislators, trying to get the dates together, trying to know that they're going virtual or they're going just vocally. And I think a lot of people need a pat on the back, and I just want to make sure that everybody gets it. That's all I had. Thank you.
Commissioner Romano, you are correct about all that, and especially our staff for getting this together. You know how difficult it is just to get a hold of our commissioners, let alone getting hold of all these legislators and working this time out. So you are correct there. Our staff is on top of this and is to be commended for sure. So any other commissioners with new business? I did not see anybody, but I'm going to look again. Any other commissioners with new business? I don't see any. We're going to go to public participation. Item number 10, public participation. Any members of the public wishing to speak, you have 5 minutes. Let us know if you would like to speak. Push star 6. Actually, at this moment, it's been a 2-hour meeting. Push star 10. Just kidding. Public participation. Second call for public participation. Any members of the
I
public
would like
wishing
to
speak?
publicly participate, please.
Oh, all right. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was one of our commissioners being funny. Yes, go ahead. Give us your name and address, and you have 5 minutes to participate.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody's really happy to go, oh, another part. Okay, anyways. This is Mike Zubis. I live at 322 North Avenue, apartment 1, and that's located in Mount Clemens, Michigan. Do you need a zip code too, or?
No, we're good. Michael,
Okay.
go ahead. You have 5 minutes. All
All right, I'm going to start right about now. Good afternoon to the chairman and the commissioners. I was supposed to change that. I want to talk to you today about an issue I see on the horizon that will explode in size in the near future. And that issue is homelessness. Our nation, the country we all love, is about to be hit hard by an economic fallout of Congress failing to act, or by the economic fallout. Whether they act later really doesn't matter now, as the ball has already been set into motion by not acting. A massive eviction / foreclosure crisis is coming, and I feel Macomb County is ill-equipped for that. I don't blame landlords, even though I could blame some. And I'm not going to blame the tenants either, even though I could also blame some. I blame the Fed. They shut down the country, forced everyone to close, and the only people that got major bailout funds were companies with more than 500 employees. The PPP fund helped a bit, but after finding out that Trump's super PAC and Nancy Pelosi's husband's company got PPP money in priority, it's proof that the true meaning of the CARES Act was that they only care about corruption from both sides of the aisle. And I expect the heroes in the HEALS Act to mean that they will heal the stock market, and then they will claim to be heroes when the only thing they saved was their campaign donation providers. I blame the way we allowed our nation's election system to be such completely bought and paid for that individuals to be in charge of handling the money of the largest inside the nation crisis in nearly a century were corrupted by lobbying, leading them to not extending the rental and mortgage evictions delays to expire right in the middle of a pandemic, which has also led to the last straw. I conclude that the two-party system has failed America. It has failed a woman in Tennessee, Leslie Nelson, who just got out of the hospital to find out she had been evicted out of a house gifted to her by a partner just years prior, just because she got the corona. That is the failure of the two-party system. And that is why after this year, I'm all about change. Change in the election system, change in all levels of government, massive nonpartisan change. Without that change, our country will fall just as Rome did. All that will be left is to decide who Nero will be and what instrument he or she could play as we watch our nation burn itself to the ground with partisanship. The stuff Obama talked about but never delivered, as millions of people homeless in 2008 are still out there today. The stuff that Trump as a candidate promised, with ending foreign lobbying but never delivered as president because AIPAC, NORPAC, and Sheldon Adelson have that much power over Congress, and now Trump. So I propose that Macomb County prove that the two-party system doesn't need to mean as much as the people who elected them into office, just as George Washington's farewell speech describes elected officials should do instead of choosing partisanship. I apologize. I'm trying to do this really fast. There is a need for a temporary to permanent homeless shelter in Macomb County. They have some in Oakland and Wayne County, and our present system of rotating to different churches is what we have. I attend Grace Episcopalian down there on Main Street. Well, not right now, but you get what I mean. Last winter, I volunteered for the week or so that we hosted the event. And I got to tell you, after seeing that place already pretty full, I cannot imagine doing that again this winter. There were already about 100 people in that building. If that number doubled, or dare I say tripled, it would maximize capacity. And with places like Columbus setting up their convention center to handle the coming tidal wave of evictions, being called a one-stop shop for tenants in trouble, as per Kristen Capps from her article in Bloomberg City Lab, due to Congress caring more about the stock market than keeping people in homes or local businesses from being forced to reopen, at the same time they help the airlines stay closed, I feel the burden will be put on the local governments to handle the coming tide. I also recommend that we use CARES Act funding because, well, I don't think we're going to get any more. In fact, it's going to be the opposite. Nothing but austerity. Okay. Okay. A little 2 paragraphs left. Okay. Nothing but austerity, which is only going to make things worse. But that's not the problem. The problem is keeping Wall Street in record numbers by allowing the Federal Reserve to pump $1 trillion a day into equity markets. That $14 trillion into Wall Street without approval from Congress. Please consider getting a permanent place for homeless people to go to this winter. I feel it's been needed. Its importance will be highlighted over the next year or so as things take a turn for the worse. One last thing, though. A quote from the movie Team America, World Police. Sometimes hope is all you have. Be safe, and thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Michael. I always look forward to your movie quotes. I will. We're gonna
thank
go
you.
Thank you. We're gonna go through public participation, but I know Representative Wozniak also is on the line. So let me finish public participation. Any other members of the public wishing to speak? All right. For the third and final time, any members of the public wishing to speak? Hearing no other members of the public, Representative Wozniak, are you with us on the line? I think we saw your name come back on. So Doug Wozniak, push *6 if you happen to be on the line. I just got 2 texts that say they saw you on the line, or one of your staff, one of the 2.
Hi there. Have I got an echo or what?
Yes, you do. Everybody could please mute that's not speaking. Please mute.
There we go.
Representative Wozniak.
Thank you, Chairman. All right, everybody hear me okay?
Yes, welcome. The floor is yours.
Yeah, it's being old and learning computers, I guess I am. Anyway, it's good to be part of this group. I've always appreciated the members of our caucus in Macomb. We work together quite often, and all the issues that have been brought up are very important to Macomb. And I think it's really pertinent, the issue on Shepparton that Commissioner Brown brought up and a few other people. I think that's something that is very important to Macomb going forward. As far as myself, of course, I'm an attorney. I've been in the judiciary 1 term now, the legislature, but I'm on the Judiciary Committee, the Health Policy Committee, Communications and Technology Committee, the Commerce and Trade Committee, and the Children, Family, and Seniors Committee. And in each of those committees, we've done pertinent legislation for each of the groups that are in there, ranging from children, families, and seniors. So I'm going to keep it short. My phone number is 517-373-0843. My cell phone is 586-615-2500. And I'd like to say we've gotten through 2/3 of 2020. We got 1/3 to go. Hopefully the rest of this year will be better off. But thank you for this meeting. I think it's good to have this type of interaction between all the elected members. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative, for joining us, and I'm glad you were able to figure out how to get back on here. So we're happy to hear from you as always. I don't have any questions for you. We have gone through every bit of business in the meeting except for item number 11, adjournment. Any members
Draw that motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn. I have any support?
Support.
I have motion and support. I will say let's vote, but I'm going to consider this meeting adjourned. Thank you for joining us, everybody. And